Hey, this is Jay Shifman, a speaker at Choose Your Struggle. And if you really want to learn how to level up your life, you should be listening to the Time to Shine Today podcast with my good friend Scott Ferguson.
Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson. I have my boy Jay Shifman coming on from Misdiagnosed to Overdose. This man has walked a path that some may call dark, and he brought it into the light, and he's breathing air on this earth for the sole purpose of helping people that are struggling. And he will tell you that you can choose your struggle. You know, there's addiction and connection, and we cover so much in this interview. And if you're struggling at all, please let us make a warm introduction to Jay for you, because he will change your life. He will level you up and just make you in the rock star that you were really born to be. So break out your notebooks on this one, sit back, relax, because here comes my really good friend, Jay Shifman from Choose Your Struggle. Let's level up. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. This is Scott Ferguson, and I got my boy who is a former Cincy guy living in Philly now, taking his headache from one place to another. I'm kidding. My boy, Jay Shifman. You know, in a country where as many as 1 in 2 will struggle with an issue of mental health or substance abuse at some point in their life, the average American is still underserved by an outdated model of care. Too many communities don't have a mental health provider at all, and if they do, lack insurance coverage, and the vast wall of stigma around these issues makes help unaffordable and unattainable at most. My boy Jay Shifman, you got it. I can't wait to bring you this cat. He's a mental health and substance abuse and recovery speaker, coach, and advocate, and the host of the Choose Your Struggle podcast, which we'll throw that in the show notes. Don't go over there yet, because I want you to hear everything my boy Jay has. And Jay, thanks for coming on. Please introduce yourself to the Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. But first, brother, what's your favorite color and why?
Green, and it dates back to when I was growing up. I was a big Ninja Turtles fan. They were seriously, man, for the longest time, and to this day, I'm a Boston Celtics fan.
Okay,
coincidentally, they're lime green, you know, the Kelly green, and so I got. I mean, you can't see it all around me, but I got green everything.
Bro, that's awesome, man. Which turtle was your guy?
Oh, Raphael, you had to go with the lip. You know, he had the lip on him.
Bro, you remind me. I was a turtle fan. How old are you, Jay, if you don't mind sharing?
35.
Okay, I'm 49, so I was like the first Ninja Turtle kind of generation where they were actually, it was weird.
Kids
it was
today
awesome.
Don't know it. They don't know how cool the turtles were.
Dude, they were awesome. They were like full, like dudes dressed up like turtles back then, you know? But no, it's awesome. So, man, seriously, welcome to the show, man. Let's get to the roots of this, because I'm sensing something in your background really kind of pushed you to where you are to help people level up out of kind of mental and substance abuse.
Well, I'll tell you what, man, that's true. I mean, I've been there. And the really short version is I was misdiagnosed as a teen with a pretty serious issue of mental health that led to struggling with substance misuse and addiction. And when I was 23, I attempted suicide twice in 2 days and lived through an overdose. So when I tell people that I'm working with that there's nothing they're going to tell me that's going to shock me, I mean that personally. I've been there. I know what it feels like.
Dude, that's awesome that you have that with actually walked in the shoes. I mean, it's so cliche because you don't always have to walk in the shoes, but what you're doing with what you're doing, it's good to have. Not good that you did it, man, but it's good that you actually went through it. So tell me a little bit about your program and what you have set up to help people kind of push through and kind of level up through their mental health or even substance abuse, and what you have set up and what you're doing for people.
Well, COVID has really changed a lot. I mean, for everybody, right? About how we are trying to help. For me and my team, what that has meant is a lot of more big picture work. So we've done a lot of advocacy at the state level here in Pennsylvania. We did a lot of advocacy. I used to live in Charleston, South Carolina. We were doing a lot down there because, you know, it's tough, man. It's tough for a lot of people in a lot of these places where stigma is still keeping people from getting help. And so a lot of what we've been doing is focusing on that, trying to help people just start these conversations. I was working with families, just getting them to talk to each other about these issues. And I'll tell you what, man, that honestly, that's the hardest thing. It's just starting the conversation inside of our family groups.
So do you work as a kind of a coach, consultant, or a therapist? Or are you kind of a consult therapist? Like what's your story? What do you got going on with what you do?
So a lot of what I do is big picture, like I said, speaking, storytelling,
Yeah.
consulting with organizations. I do work one-on-one in very, very special situations. I only work with people that I truly believe I can help. I mean, between you and me, man, I don't want to be one of those guys that just takes anybody and 3 months later it's like, this isn't really working. So
Yes.
I am very particular about who I work with, and it's only people that I truly believe from the bottom of my heart that I can make a difference in their lives.
That's awesome. So when you're bringing people in, like if you're about ready to speak in front of a group,
Yeah.
okay, what kind of special sauce or secret sauce, if you will, another cliche thing kind of, but like do you do to help them find their blind spots?
That's such a great question, man. And I'll say this. I have a saying on my show, which is that vulnerability begets vulnerability and empathy begets empathy, right? We've all, especially those of us who have lived this life, we've all been in those rooms where like someone's preaching at us. And that's not how you start these conversations. That's not how you get people to open up, to look around and realize what needs to change.
Right.
The way that we make those conversations work is someone like me who's been there is that vulnerable person first, that and coming from a place of empathy, right? I can't shout you into wanting to get better. I can't shame you into wanting to get better. I can only say to you, I've been there. I'm in a better place now. If you come with me, we can work together to get to where you want to be.
I love that. So you set up kind of a team environment for them, but they've got to make that ultimate decision to really want to level up. I love what I'm hearing, man. So when you're bringing these, whether it's a one-on-one or even a community in, is there any good questions that you wish they would ask you but never do?
Oh, wow. That's a great question. That's one I don't get to get asked a lot.
Time to
You
shine
know,
today, baby.
and you get this because you do something similar, but like we get asked. My wife knows this. When I walk out of a conversation, if I'm like, yeah, it was whatever, it means I could have done this in my sleep. But the ones that really energize me are the ones where it becomes a communal conversation and it becomes a give and take. And whether it's asking me about my journey in particular or more where it's like they're really getting into this idea. I'll tell you, my favorite one in that moment is how to retell our stories. A lot of times we are allowing the way we are talked about or the stories that are told about us to be our guiding factor. And you're never going to get to your own success that way. The way that you are going to find what's going to make you, whether it's just healthier or entering recovery or living a better life, is by embracing your story, embracing your truth, and deciding what success looks like to you. That's the only way you can do it. You cannot follow someone else's definition.
I love that, man, because we're all unique, man. We're all snowflakes.
Yeah.
We're all thumbprints, fingerprints.
Yeah.
A lot of what you do, brother, it stems around responsibility. Okay. What's your definition of responsibility, Jay?
Wow, you are hitting me with all the hard questions today, man. I love it. I'm glad I have my coffee this morning. For me at least, the responsibility is a two-way street because, like you said, we all are our own person. And that way we interact in the world is going to be coming from our own place of truth, our own place of reality. At the same time, there is that outside world that we are interacting with. So it cannot be all on the individual, but it also cannot be not on the individual. It has to be that perfect combination of how are you interacting in this world and how is the world interacting with you?
I love that, bro, because it's a two-way street, man. There's two players in every game, no matter what, whether it's marriage or even life. And my mentor always told me that responsibility is rooted in the word. It's the ability to respond, and it's how you are, and the team that you build around you helps you respond to anything. That's awesome, bro. I love what we're talking about. So, what do you think your strengths are, brother?
Well, so the one that I always go back to is that I have that mix of lived and learned experience. I have walked there. I have a BA in psychology. I have more certificates than we have time to list right now. But all of that, I think, is equal to the fact that I lived it, right? I say this all the time. I do a lot of work with some really intelligent people, the people with the PhD after their name and stuff like that. And what I love about them is they've got the theories, they've got the ideas that I will never have. But at
Sure.
the same time, they don't know what it feels like to go through withdrawal. They don't know what it feels like to experience an overdose, and they shouldn't want to, right?
Right.
But the fact is that I can bring that to the table, and then my understanding of the learned part, and together we can work on these things. Together we can try to make this better. That the fact is, if you just have one or the other, you're not hitting all your bases. And so that's why I don't want to sound like a broken record, but it's the collaboration piece, man. We can't do this alone. I can't do this alone. You can't do this alone. We can only do this together.
Dude, it's so awesome how you build a team around recovery. That's kick ass, dude. I freaking love that you do that. So about your strengths, what do you appreciate about your strengths? You listed them, but what do you appreciate about them?
Well, so to what you just said, I think is a great answer there. A guy I admire named Johan Hari, who's a writer, said the opposite of addiction is not not sobriety, it's connection. And so building that team is, in my opinion, the most important thing. And to me, that is the thing that I hate tooting my own horn, because again, we're all in this together, but I have the ability to bring people together. That's something that I
that's
proud
awesome.
myself in.
Man.
I that's something, yes, being a connector is what I take a lot of pride in.
So did you say opposite of addiction is what? It's not sobriety. It's what?
Connection.
Love it, dude. That's awesome. So let's, to what extent do you then appreciate your limitations?
Yeah. So I think that there is a piece of me, and this is something that I think too many of us struggle with, and I'm so conscious of this, is that I, at times, will not check my own ego, right? This year for me, yeah, right? I mean, a lot of us have this.
Yeah.
But 2021 for me has been about realizing what I'm not good at. Perfect example. I've been saying for the last 2 years, I've been working with someone who's like, you got to write the book, you got to write the book, you got to write the book. And I kept saying, I'm going to do it. And I never did it. And so finally in 2021, I approached a good friend of mine who's an incredible writer. And I said, hey man, will you work with me on this project, right? And that was hard for me to do because I wanted to do it myself. Like I do everything, but I realized I couldn't do that. And so working on that it was one of my goals of 2021.
Bro, ego is huge. And I kind of have one, and I've known it, and I get called. I have a really tight squad of people that will call me out, and I appreciate that. And what's awesome is that you're writing a book, and the same thing with me, man. I've been a real estate broker for 21 years or whatever, 22 years is, 1999. And it's like, I've never invented a thing in my life. I broker stuff. I do affiliate marketing. I have this podcast. I bring awesome people like you. And so I'm writing a business parable right now, and it's been crazy, man. And down here where I live, there's like Bob Berg and Randy Gage and all these people that wrote like The Go-Giver and what that are actually helping me out. So it's awesome to have built a community just like you. That's fantastic. So have you seen the movie Back to the Future?
Of course. One of my favorites.
Let's get in that DeLorean with Marty McFly. Let's go back to the Double Deuce, the 22-year-old Jay Shifman. What kind of knowledge nuggets, that's what we call him here at Time to Shine today. What kind of knowledge nuggets would you drop on 22-year-old Jay to maybe help him shorten his learning curve, level up, and blast through?
I'll tell you what, man, if I could have told myself anything at that time, I would have said to myself, you're not the problem. That's why I gave up hope. That's why I attempted suicide twice in 2 days, was that I had decided that all these other people, their opinions mattered more than my own, that my gut was not something I should listen to, and I gave up. I gave up hope. And so if I could go back and tell myself at that age, hey, listen to yourself, trust yourself, this story would have gone a lot different.
Right. It's okay to get your asking gear, you're asking the people, but the people around you, especially your support system, they're kind of like the crabs, like in a bucket where you're trying to climb out, they're pulling you down, giving you all of their version of empathy. But really, sometimes you need a swift kick in the claw, you know what I'm saying, to make it happen. But so how do you want your dash remembered, man? That little line in between your incarnation date and your expiration date, your life date, death date, and your tombstone. Hopefully it's a long ways off because you're a young man. But like, how do you want that dash remembered?
I'll tell you what, it is a little cliche because it's the name of my company and it's my hashtag, but he chose his struggle. That would be the one, is that I decided what I was going to dedicate my life to. I didn't let my world or my life choose for me. And I worked every day for that struggle. That would, to me, would be a life well lived.
Awesome, dude. You just answered my next question. What's your definition of a life well lived? But let's go this way. Let's get that DeLorean this time with Doc Brown. Where you're going and where we're going, there are no roads. All right.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Well, I'll tell you what, it to me, what it would look like would be continuing to do the hands-on work that I'm doing here in Philly. It's what keeps me grounded, doing this working with people who are currently struggling with substance misuse or full-blown addiction. I mean, this is what reminds me every single day why I do this. So continuing to do that is very important to me, but also on a bigger picture, helping end that stigma and helping promote honest and fact-based education around these topics. Because, guys, I'm not that much younger than you. We didn't get good education growing up, and that's still happening.
Not
we
even
have
close.
to change that. We have to change that for future generations.
Love it, man. You are making that change. That's fantastic. So, Jay, what do people misunderstand about you the most?
I'll tell you what, man. I hate that this is the case, but when people hear that I am, in recovery, you can almost see a little thing switch in their mind, right? And even the people who come from a place of empathy, there's still a little bit of pity with that empathy, or there's still a little bit of, oh, well, he made a mistake. Man, this can happen to anyone. The addiction is not a thing that just affects one person or another person. Yeah, I came from a good family. I came from means. I was loved. I mean, there was no indicators like we like to think there are.
Right.
This can happen to anyone. And
Dude,
so I just wish people understood that more.
Dude, you're so transparent, so honest, man. We really appreciate that, our squad, bro, because that's one thing that I demand of anybody that I coach. And also I'm lucky to have a lot of subscribers that I demand transparency, and that's what you're being, man. That's fantastic. So what keeps you up at night, Jay?
Oh, man, so much. The biggest thing, honestly, again, is because I do work in a hands-on situation. As grounding, as incredible as that work is, it's not easy. And seeing it firsthand there are times where I come home just emotionally defeated, and I need some time just to kick back with my wife and our dog and just be, because it's so crushing at times seeing the way that life has treated some of these people. And so I would say that that's the number one thing that I'm a good sleeper, but when something does keep me up, it's usually
dude. It seems like you give so much, and I do the same. And it's like when you can't fix something. That's what keeps me up, dude. Other than losing a loved one or something like that, usually nothing does. But if I can't fix something or help somebody through a sitch, that's where you and I are like twins 15 years apart, bro. I'm going to tell you right now. So let's take out of the equation anything electronic, like cell phones, tablets, computers, laptops, whatever. What are 3 things that Jay can't live without?
Oh, man. Okay, so you said no electronics. So I'll leave out my record player, but
you can bring the vinyl in, baby.
I'll tell you what, man. After a day like I was just talking about, kicking back and listening to some vinyl is pretty key. But I would say a good book, number one. That is number one. My dog, number 2, and
what kind of pup you got, man?
Her name is Nell. She's 3. She's a setter mix, and she's just the best.
That's awesome.
So I would say that, and then some kind of activity that gets my mind check out for a while, whether it's going for a run or doing some mindfulness exercises, something like that. I mean, those are the 3 big key things for me.
Got to have the sabbaticals, dude. I take one every 100%. Day as well, man. Yeah. And I'm surprised you left out chicken wings, man, because that's always my number 3, dude. I'm a snob, bro. Or a Philly cheesesteak where you're at, bro. I'll tell you what, man.
I'm eating wings for lunch tomorrow, so then maybe that would be number 4. I'm with you right there.
Yeah, it's funny. It's like you live in Philly, and I was stationed in Philly for, I don't know, a minute when I was in the Navy we actually did dive in the Delaware River, which I'll never do that again. But, it's funny. Like I got introduced to cheesesteaks. Where I live in Florida here in Jupiter, it's a huge I-95 corridor comes down here. So we got like 2 restaurants that compete here, and they hate each other. Their families can't stand each other. So you got cheesesteaks, bro, like legit from the freaking carts from Philly, dude. It's fantastic. I don't know why I brought it up. Maybe I'll have that for lunch. I don't know. Here we go. Time to Shine Today podcast, Varsity Squad. We are back with my guy, Jay Shifman, who is just leveled me up for the past 15, 17 minutes, man. The guy, we're transparent. We're 15 years apart in age, but we've seemed to have walked a lot of the same paths. And the world is blessed to have a guy like Jay walking in it right now, helping people level up. And Jay, we're going to take you through our leveling up lightning round. You and I could talk an hour about each one of these questions, but you got 5 seconds with no explanation.
Oof.
You ready to rock?
Let's do it.
All right, here we go. Let's level up. What is the best leveling up advice Jay's ever received?
Oh, don't let fear is never a good reason not to do something.
Love it. Share one of your personal habits that contributes to your success.
The daily check-in, it's a mindfulness technique. It helps clear out my subconscious and keep me going.
Beautiful. Other than your own websites, because you got a lot of them, okay, little spots, and also timetoshinetoday.com, my shameless plug. What website does Jay go to level up?
Well, I'll tell you what, my newest thing is I'm teaching myself ukulele. So I'm on a lot of ukulele websites, figuring out different tabs and how
Love
to do it.
Yeah. Love it. If you see me walking down the street, man, Ferguson looks like he's in his doldrums. I got to get Fergie a book, man. What is it?
Oh, to get out of your doldrums? Man, what a great question. I would probably go with In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts by Gabor Mate.
Got it. Put that in the show notes, brother. Awesome. Your most commonly used emoji?
the crying, laughing guy.
Love it. New Year's resolution?
Next year, it's going to be continuing working on my business and continuing checking my own ego.
Love it. Chess or checkers?
Checkers.
Me too. I don't have time to learn chess, bro. Favorite charity and organization you like to give your time or money to?
So here in Philly, it's called Savage Sisters. I'm on the board, and we do outreach and recovery housing.
Beautiful. Thank you for doing that. Last question. You can elaborate a little bit on this one, but what is the best decade of music, Jay? 60s, 70s, 80s, or 90s?
Oh, wow. What a great question. So I would say it's either the 60s, I'm a big Beatles guy, or 90s, the early days of hip hop is unparalleled.
Bro, when you come to South Florida, which I'm going to get you down here, okay? I'm going to set up some speaking events here. Bro, like you and I have a vinyl record player. I want to get up and get it. Like I have a vinyl record player over here. It works through Bluetooth. It's really weird, but it plays my vinyls. In my first record, anytime when I'm stressed, is Meet the Beatles. And I'm not even lying to you, bro. I just throw that on, opens up with the hold your hand, and just like, dude, that's awesome, man. So, Jay, have you finished writing this book yet?
Mine?
Yeah.
The first draft is done. We're editing right now.
Beautiful. Can't wait to get my hands on that. And how can we find you, brother?
You can check me out at jshifman.com or chooseyourstruggle.com.
Love it. Love it. And leave us, if you don't mind, with, hold on a second. You mentioned fear in my question number 2. What's your acronym for fear?
My acronym?
Yeah. Because everyone's like, false evidence appearing real.
Oh, I see what you're saying. That's a great question. I'll say this. I don't have a good answer because I do my best after getting that advice to not spend so much time thinking about it, right? Instead dive into what the fear might be telling me. That to me is more important.
I love it. My acronym for fear is FEAR, face everything and respond. That's my jam. Anyways, but leave us with one last knowledge nugget, if you don't mind. We can take with us, internalize, and take action.
I'll tell you this. There's one thing I say whenever I speak, whenever I'm asked to be interviewed, and that is please reach out. I did the stupidest thing you can do, and that is attempted to take my own life twice. I did that because I truly felt that there wasn't anyone there who wanted me to reach out to them, wanted to be around. And I say this whenever I'm interviewed. If you truly think that, you're wrong. But at the same time, I get it. Again, I was there. Yeah. So please reach out to me. Tell me you heard me with Scott. And I'll tell you this. I give you a code word because saying I need help is really hard. Say instead, I heard you with Scott and I have a question or there's something I wanted to ask you about. I'll know what that means. I'll say, great, let's get on Zoom. Let's get on the phone. Whenever you're ready, let's have a chat. And I'll be there to hear you, because as those of us who do this have a saying, we'd rather spend 2 hours listening to you today than 2 hours at your funeral tomorrow.
Love it, man.
Please reach out.
Yeah, my little brother took his life, man. He was 10 years younger than me, but so I kind of raised him in a sense. And man, it's just, I wish he had someone like you to call, brother. And squad, a guy that went from not misdiagnosed to an overdose to almost taking his life, man. This is a guy that's walked a path that I want to introduce the people out there that are struggling right now. Send a question to me to say question or ask you about, and we'll get you over to Jay. He's a speaker, a storyteller, and a consultant. He works with people. He's a kind of a right horse for every course. If he can't help you, though, he's going to put you with somebody that can. Just 100%. Because he can't, he's very empathetic. And he's also a connector. He just reminds me so much of me, man. He will tell you vulnerability begets vulnerability, and empathy begets empathy. So come from a place of empathy. People need that. He believes in communal conversations. He wants you to learn how to tell your story in the right way. Embrace that story and your truth. He reminds us that the opposite of addiction is connection. So it's not really sobriety, it's connection. It's getting connected with the people and the feelings that are going to help you level up. He would tell him his younger self, he wants you to tell yourself, you are not the problem. Your opinion matters, your hunch matters, your intuition matters. And again, reach out to Jay. Reach out to me. If you're close with me and my squad, let me put you in touch with Jay. He's going to be remembered as someone that, he chose his struggles in a sense, but he's going to slide across home plate. He'll be bumped, bruised, rashed, but he's going to come out knowing that he helped as many people that may be diagnosed, that went through an overdose and whatnot to really level up. He levels up his health. He levels up his wealth. He's earned his varsity letter here at the Time to Shine Today Varsity Squad. Thank you so much for coming on, Jay. I can't wait to collaborate with you in the future, brother.
Thanks so much for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Awesome, brother. Chat soon. Love your guts.
Hey, thanks so much for listening to this episode of Time to Shine Today podcast. Proudly brought to you by Sutter & Nugent Real Estate Excellence, who can be reached at 561-249-7266 and online at www.sutterandnugent.com. If you are a business owner or professional who would like to be interviewed on Time to Shine Today, please visit timetoshinetoday.com/guest. If you like this episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you get your podcasts. There's a link in the show notes to our website. Also there, you will see our recommended resources. We hope that you will support our show by supporting them. If you like what you've been listening to, it'd be great if you could just give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe while you're at it. I'm your host, Scott Ferguson, and until next time, let's level up. It's our time to shine.